My 9-year-old was selling lemonade for 50 cents a cup. She raised $200 a month. But not before a grown woman called 911 on her. Karen stood at the property line, phone pressed to her ear, chin lifted like she was reporting a hostage situation. Yes, dispatch, unlicensed food vendor, residential zone. I need an officer immediately. The vendor was in pigtails. She had a hand-painted sign and a Tupperware full of change. And by the end of that afternoon, Karen's entire world was about to collapse around her. But here's what Karen didn't know. My daughter's lemonade stand had a camera pointed directly at it. It was a Saturday in July, the kind of day where the sidewalk shimmers and kids actually go outside. My daughter Maya had been planning this for a week. Handwritten menu, a mason jar for tips, a folding table draped in a yellow tablecloth she picked herself. She was saving up for a telescope. She'd made $11 in the first hour. But then the silver Lexus slowed at the curb. The window lowered. Karen's eyes swept the table like a health inspector who'd found a rat. You know this violates HOA Article 7, Section C. Maya looked up, squinting in the sun. It's lemonade. Karen smiled the way people do when they've already made up their mind. It's a commercial enterprise in a residential zone, sweetheart. She said sweetheart like it was an insult. Therefore, I walked outside. And I was already too late to stop what Karen had already set in motion. Because the 911 call? It had already gone through. The officer who showed up looked like he'd been hoping for a quieter Saturday. He stepped out of the cruiser, took one long look at the lemonade stand, then one long look at Karen. He took a breath. Ma'am, what exactly are we dealing with here? Karen produced a printed document, actual printed pages, with highlights. HOA Bylaws, Article 7. Unlicensed commercial activity is strictly prohibited. The officer read maybe 4 words before his expression went completely flat. This is a child's lemonade stand. It is an unlicensed vendor operation. Maya was sitting very still behind her table, cup in hand, watching. I put my hand on her shoulder. Officer, is there any actual ordinance being violated here? He turned to me with the energy of a man who wanted to be anywhere else on earth. No, ma'am, there is not. Karen's jaw tightened. Then I'll be filing a formal HOA complaint by end of day. This isn't over. She turned on her heel, clicked back to her Lexus, drove exactly 40 feet to her own driveway. And that's when I did something Karen never anticipated. I went inside, pulled up my phone and posted the security footage. All of it. The call, the printed bylaws, the officer's face, Maya sitting perfectly still behind her yellow tablecloth. I wrote one sentence as the caption. My daughter was selling lemonade for a telescope. A neighbor called the police. I hit post, went back outside, poured myself a cup of lemonade. Now here's where the open question sits. The HOA complaint Karen filed that afternoon? It triggered something none of us saw coming. Because the HOA board had a meeting scheduled for that Thursday, and the video had 4 million views by Wednesday night. What happened at that HOA board meeting will genuinely make your jaw drop. The meeting was supposed to be about parking variance requests. Instead, 37 neighbors showed up. The room had 12 chairs. People were standing in the hallway. Karen sat at the board table in a blazer, papers stacked in front of her, chin up. She looked like she still thought she was winning. The board president cleared his throat. Before we get to agenda items, we need to address the complaint filed against the resident at 14 Maple Court. Karen nodded sharply. Yes, The HOA bylaws are clear, Karen. He said it quietly. We've also received 41 counter-complaints. About you. The room shifted. She blinked. I'm sorry? Harassment of a minor. Misuse of emergency services. Conduct unbecoming a board member. He slid a stack of papers across the table. These are signed. Karen looked at the signatures. Then she looked at the room full of people staring back at her. Her neighbor from the cul-de-sac. The couple from the corner house. Maya's soccer coach. They were all there. Meanwhile, the GoFundMe someone had started for Maya's telescope fund, without our knowledge, without our asking, had crossed $10,000 that morning. Karen opened her mouth, closed it. This is completely... There will be a vote, the president said, on your continued position on this board. It took 6 minutes. The motion passed 11-1. The one was Karen. She gathered her highlighted bylaws. She stood up very slowly, and she walked out of a room that no longer had a seat for her. But the part of this story that still gets me, what Maya said when we told her about the $10,000. We sat at the kitchen table that night, the three of us. My husband had his laptop open, refreshing the GoFundMe like it was a sports score. Maya, I said carefully, some people online donated money to your telescope fund. She looked up from her homework. How much? $10,000. She stared at me, looked at her dad, looked back at me. Can I still keep the lemonade stand? We laughed so hard my husband spilled his coffee. But here's the part that closed the loop we hadn't even realized was open. 3 days later, a letter arrived. From Karen. Not an apology exactly. More like a legal document attempting to look like an apology. 2 paragraphs. No warmth. Her lawyer's address in the footer. Maya read it. Set it down. She spelled my name wrong. Therefore, we did nothing. Because you don't need to respond to people who only reach out when consequences arrive. Maya got her telescope. A neighbor helped her set it up in the backyard. First thing she found in the sky was Saturn. She called me outside in her pajamas, eye pressed to the eyepiece, voice absolutely reverent. Mom, you can actually see the rings. Karen is no longer on the HOA board. The lemonade stand runs every Saturday from 10 to noon. And somehow, the silver Lexus takes a different route home now. Drop a lemonade emoji in the comments if you think Maya deserved every single penny. And tell me, what would you have done at that HOA meeting? If Karen has ever shown up in your neighborhood, you already know exactly who she is. Comment below. HOA horror story. Go.